Man United have conceded 95 shots in 5 games, which is an average of 19 shots per game. Man United haven't won a Premier League away game against a team starting the day in the top 8 of the table since October 2021, which was against Tottenham under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer when we beat them 3-0. Since then, they've drawn 3 and lost 10 of their 13 games. Manchester United's away record to last season's top 9 and the current season's top 9, played 12, won 0, drew 1, lost 11. Man United have now gone 21 top-flight games without a draw, something they last did from September 1893 to March 1894. Welcome to Pros and Cons. So we lost 1-0 to Newcastle United last night, and the scoreline does not suggest how the game went. It flatters us, if we're being open about that. It's a complete contrast between both teams. One team had energy, togetherness, they was compact, they worked for it, they scrapped for everything, and there was a cohesion and a real team spirit. And the opposite team, just no fight whatsoever, no plan, players not working for each other, no patterns of play. And that was Manchester United. It was one of the worst performances I've seen this season. Hands down, just an awful watch. We were just waiting for something to happen. And the only reason why things happened towards the end of the game was because Newcastle was like, right, we've got this in the bag here. We'll just defend for the last 5 minutes. So I thought some of the quotes was interesting coming out from Erik ten Hag. But there is a lot of negative things to discuss. So me and you can chat about this right now. So let's get into it. Is Erik ten Hag the right manager to take us forward? There is question marks, serious question marks being asked now about this manager's capabilities. We talk about in-game management. That was one of his strengths last season. He had the ability to tweak things in a game, and you can go back to loads of examples where you've seen it. Liverpool, City, was it Brentford? Not Brentford. It might have been Brentford at home. There was a few examples where he had the ability to see something on the pitch and either bring a player on or switch something up tactically in order to get the result. And for some reason now, his in-game subs are just bizarre. They're more like for like than rather actually changing something. He doesn't seem to tweak things now tactically in-game. Stubbornness, the sheer stubbornness of him is a little bit concerning. How he's, we talk about Rashford's situation, and the Jadon Sancho one, and I get he's trying to instill discipline in the squad, and you want to stick to your principles, right? But one of the reasons he said Sancho, wasn't training right, wasn't committed. Well, is Marcus committed? Because if you look at his performance I'm going to get into Marcus Rashford next, but if you look at his performances on the pitch, it's concerning, man. It's really, really concerning. So there's stubbornness with certain players. There's stubbornness to play a certain way. That just isn't getting results at the moment. The tactics are very, very questionable, which I'll dive into a little bit deeper later on. The man management is bizarre. Everything that's going on with Rafael Varane. And the uncertainty as well that's above him and just around the whole manager at the minute. It's questions, definitely. I've backed the manager for a long time now. And after last year, I was like, I'm willing to give this guy time because given what he had, he provided, he did really, really well. But this season, we have gone backwards, having spent 200 million. So there has to be questions at the manager. You can't just have blind loyalty to this guy. Marcus Rashford is back to the way he was under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now, his confidence is shot. Completely shot. I didn't think he could have the high that he did last season and play as well as he did and drop this low again. I thought there might have been a drop-off. I mentioned in the season preview that we did, I said he is a bit of a purple patch player. It wouldn't surprise me, if you didn't start off the way he was last season. Maybe it'll take him a bit of time to get into that, but we're in December now, and he's still playing the exact same way. He's got no football intelligence. He gets into areas and panics, doesn't seem to know what to do. He's dribbling at times. He can't even beat a man. Like, you look at him, you're like, I'm not confident he could be any wing back he's coming up against. I mean, Livramento was a decent wing back, but he had him in his back pocket yesterday, going forward and backwards. He's not scoring goals. The last goal he scored was a penalty, and that was only because Bruno Fernandes gave it him. His work rate is non-existent, right? And he didn't even play against Galatasaray, and he had a week off, so no excuse. And then regardless of whatever position you put Marcus in, he just doesn't play well. Put him on the left, put him up top, put him on the right. Can't get a tune out of him. And this goes back to the manager's stubbornness again. It keeps playing him expecting something magically to just... It's gone past that now. Has to be dropped for a few games. Another player in the attacking line, Anthony Martial. How is this guy still here? Bought under Louis van Gaal. Mourinho wanted to get rid of him. All the question marks around him, saying he wants a striker that's going to get his head to it. I know he had a decent season under Ole, was it, the 19-20 season, statistically. And even in game, he was decent. But his return over the past, I don't know, 9 years he's been here for now, simply ain't good enough. Ragnick's coached him. Erik Ten Hag's just... Again, it's like, if he could stay fit and have a run of games, he might be all right. But he hasn't played 90 minutes, I don't think, until the last time he played a full 90 minutes was January 2021, I believe. So what is a player like this still doing here? It's another one whose lack of work rate, looks lazy on the pitch at times. He had a bust up with Erik Ten Hag on the pitch about this, looks disinterested. And like I said, he's a player that should have moved on years ago. I don't understand why he's still at the club. We need to shift players on like this, because they don't seem fully committed to the cause. And if you can't play for 90 minutes or forward, what's the fucking point, right? The midfield is so exposed. I don't know which side this diagram is. I think it's here, or it might be this side here. But just look at the gaps that are there. You got 2 8s that are pressing since the start of the season, right? There's been questions about this because everyone's saying Casemiro's fell off. It's not. It's the system. It's 2 8s that are pressing high up and they're getting bypassed like that. You've got a deep defensive line, which also leaves a massive gap between it as well. Not compact at all in comparison to Newcastle United. McTominay is playing in the midfield. I know he's scored more than all of our attackers, and that's why he's playing in midfield, but he is not a midfielder. You know, when you look at the player we was linked with last summer in Frankie de Jong, right, and people will moan at me for consistently going on about de Jong, but he is the perfect player for us. Frankie de Jong alongside, let's say Kobe Mainoo, de Jong, Bruno. There's so much more control in that midfield. I felt sorry for Kobe Mainoo yesterday against Joe Linton and Bruno Gomares, because they was just overpowering him. He was overwhelmed. It's an 18-year-old kid. Midfield has been a huge issue. This again, stubbornness. This experiment has not worked. Can we please revert back to last... I never thought I'd be saying this, but can we please revert to last season where we had Casemiro and Eriksen in the double pivot, right? In certain games we got overrun, I admit that, and we needed to bring a player in who could cover for Christian Eriksen's deficiencies, and I thought that would be Mason Mount, but it hasn't worked. So please go back to the system that we was working and figure something out. Play Amrabat and Mainoo there. Play Casemiro when he gets back and Mainoo. I don't know, but this midfield at the minute is shocking, and we cannot control games away or at home. Tactics, utter madness. We was playing long ball against Newcastle, which is just crazy. When we tried to build up from the back, it just completely collapsed. The passing networks comparison, I don't know if any of you guys have seen that. I'll try to put them on the screen for you. Just look at Newcastle's and look at Manchester United's. The stark contrast between both is unbelievable. The way we press, it's like, well, either, press from the front or commit your players as a unit, or either, like I said before, sit off and be compact like last season, not this hybrid shit that we're watching and we're seeing consistently every single game. Out of possession, we are one of the worst teams I've ever seen. Ever. And that's obviously bits to do with coaching, that's bits to do with individual personnel, certain players not tracking back that I've already touched on. The low line is questionable. The midfield man marking, the high wingers, but then there's high wingers, but then there's a gap because the fullbacks aren't joining in with the press. So it seems like everybody's fucking confused. No one has a clue what they're doing. It's a load of headless chickens. I think the intention is there to press, but there's no structure around it. And I can't remember what analogy I used once for this, but it's like if you have five people in a room that are, when you do the orchestra, right? If one violin is slightly off, it'll be noticed like that. If one person, a Rashford, for example, is that violin and he's not pressing, it's noticeable. And people break through that structure very, very easily, especially teams like Newcastle, who are fantastic on the ball. We put in Shaw at left back and Dalot an inverted wing back, I think, to try and make it easier through the press. But if you watch how we build up for the back, Onana to Shaw, and then what happens now? What happens now? I know we brought Kobe Mainoo in for a similar thing and Anthony Martial, but we just didn't play football. We just looked completely off it. Maguire is in the positives. I'll talk about him shortly, but he's been playing fantastic. I have no issue with that whatsoever, right? But Rafael Varane is probably the out-and-out the best centre-back at the club, and you could play a much higher line with Varane in the team, which means the press is more compact. It's not broken up. But because of the arguments, whatever, he's not in the team. So we have to play this way, which then just breaks it down, like, throughout the team, systematically. So many games this season, we're watching it and we're just like, we don't know what the fucking plan is. And if we don't know what the plan is, the players either aren't, adhering to instructions right, or they just confuse themselves. So, again, so many question marks. It's unbelievable. McTominay cannot keep starting every fucking game in the midfield. Brought in for physicality, right? We've seen this, right? He always plays against Burnley and teams against Newcastle. You look at players in the midfield, Guimaraes, Joe Linton, these kind of guys, right? 1 out of 5 ground duels for McTominay, 0 out of 4 aerial duels, 0 shots, 0 dribble attempts, 0 chances created, 0 crosses, 0 long balls, 0 key passes, and 30 touches in the whole game. He is a fucking ghost. Casper, gone with the wind. He should be on Derek's Most Haunted, whatever the fuck it's called. He's a ghost, man. I get we're limited in options, but like I mentioned before, play Manu and Amrabat together so there's a bit more, composure. You look at the Galatasaray game, for example, you're like, right, we're 3-1 up now. Let's control this game. And it's like, no, McTominay keep bombing up and down forward. Is that coming from the coach, or is that McTominay just... What is it? Please tell me. Mentality and attitude. Too many players. We've seen the same players like Marcus Rashford showing no desire at all on the pitch or fight. Loads of clips flying about last night. I'm sure you have all seen him where he's walking, head down, can't be arsed. And he's not the only one. I said before, Martial got grilled off Ten Hag for it as well. McTominay caught doing it against Galatasaray, which is why Bruno gave the free kick away on the edge of the box for Ziyech. Dalot got caught lacking in the Copenhagen game. Same with Wan-Bissaka yesterday. The focus, commitment, desire, the basics of football, what you need. Before you talk about your world-class players and your tactics and stuff, they are the basics of football. And if you are not doing that, doesn't matter. Regardless of their talent, it doesn't matter. You're never going to win games, especially away from home at St. James's Park. Right, let's end with the one positive that I've got. Literally one positive. Maguire and Shaw were the only positive. They were both, in fairness to them, absolute rocks last night, putting in important blocks, leading the line, taking the ball under pressure, putting their head where it shouldn't be. And without them two last night, it could have been the scoreline that we was expecting. It could have been a 3-0, a 4-0. But they was really, really good. And they was being leaders as well. You could see it, the vocal. The wing-backs got a lot of criticism last night, and they weren't great, I admit that, but they didn't get any help from the wingers in front of him. So 1v1, I mean, Trippier, Livramento, Almiron, and Anthony Gordon were just having field constantly bombing up and down that thing. I heard Paul Scholes talking about saying, if it happens once, it can happen in the game, once, twice, maybe twice, it could be thingy. But 4, 5, 6 times when these wing-backs keep bombing forward, there is a serious issue there. And the wingers just aren't tracking back. And a lot of people are questioning, is it instructions of the coach? No, it's not. It's definitely not. Support your wing-backs. Keep your shape. I don't get why Anthony didn't start, to be honest with you, because I thought he was good against Galatasaray. Another decision that you're questioning. He played well. Rashford's been in bad form. Keep Anthony there, play Garnacho on the left, and put Højlund up top. But yeah, them two were the only positive out of yesterday's game because it was so dire. I was struggling. Like I said, I was thinking, do I even put any in there at all? But yeah. There's your one positive. The conclusion. Look, in essence, we can talk about tactics all you want, or what game plan you have, or what your preparation is going into this one. But in my opinion, these highly paid athletes, on a lot of money, if they're not going to show up and do the basics right and give you the fundamentals to match the team that they're playing, a team like Newcastle who are so energetic, so compact, work hard, great on the ball when they do get it, you can see visual patterns on the pitch, one-touch football. If you don't match that, you have absolutely no chance in high-level sports. I'm not saying Erik ten Hag goes without blame, because of course he does, he's the manager. But again, it's the old adage, isn't it? Like, when the player walks out onto the pitch, it's his job to then follow them instructions. Whether they are or not is... I don't know. But these are the same patterns and behaviours we have seen under 4 or 5 different managers before. 4 or 5 different managers. I think there was 4 players that was brought in under Van Gaal that are still here. There was 7 players that started in Mourinho's team or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's team as well. And loads of players that started under Rangnick as well. So the real question is, what players are fit enough to wear the badge? Because again, we're getting to, halfway through the season, probably near the end of the season, we're like, right, we've got all this deadwood that need to go now. I'm like, weren't we saying that last year? Didn't we get rid of 10 players? That season when Pogba, Cavani, Mata, all these guys went, and we're like, right, all the deadwood's gone. It's fucking not. We've still got loads to shift. On Fire Night's just been, I don't know what you're going to do with it, but there is loads of dead wood to move from this team, and it's very concerning. I don't imagine they're going to do much business in January. I don't think Sir John Ratcliffe, especially now going out of the Champions League, I don't think he's going to wave a magic wand and go 50 mil, 100 mil, 150, Osimhen. No, like, that ain't going to happen. So for anyone who's kind of out there waiting for this magical thing to happen in the transfer window, it's not going to change that much. Even when the players get back, Lissandro, Casemiro, of course it'll help, but I don't see us instantly challenging for a title as soon as they get back, or even pushing for a top 5 spot. I think this season is doom and gloom already. And then the manager, I'm looking at that Anfield game, and I'm like, that could be the game where he goes. That could be the game where he gets sacked. And then we rinse and repeat. We're bringing, I don't know, fucking Graham Potter for another year. He does well in his first year, gets us back into the Champions League. Second year, rinse and repeat again. Get the manager out. Get the manager out. This is a system that's above him. Everything above him. You know? People say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again. What are we doing with managers, the past 5-6 managers, or managers post-Fergie, let's say? Definition of an insanity, innit? Crazy. I'll leave it there, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Please do leave a like on the video for us. Subscribe to Real Reds Talk if you're new to the channel. Hope you enjoy this. Leave some feedback if you have any positive or negatives yourself. Or if I've missed any at all, then yeah, pop them in the comment section. And yeah, make sure you check our review out after the game because it's very passionate, very strong, more reactionary than this. This is more detailed, tactical, kind of analytical look at it. I look at things. But last night's reaction was really, really good. I thought Chivy and Sam both had some fantastic takes on that. So do check that out. Do leave a like on the video for us and check us out on socials as well. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace, brothers.